news, folks. The Warriors even the NBA Finals with a 107-88 win over the Celtics at one game apiece. Series shifting back to the Bean Wednesday for Game 3. Steph Curry scored 29 points. He held it down and then some. Steph, talk to me.
I think it's different just because of the way the team's constructed. There's always a need for me to be aggressive, try to play make, try to score. Understand how the defense is going to guard me and guard us as a team, and be able to counter that. When you compare it to years past, with the depth that we had, with the heavy loading of scoring that me, KD, Klay had, obviously it looks a little different, but and the game flows a little different. But I think this year there's definitely a need for me to be aggressive throughout the game, to create, draw attention, get shots up, and just continue to apply pressure.
With their Game 2 performance, the Warriors are now favored to win the finals again. A reminder, the Celtics have won 13 of 14 NBA titles after winning Game 1. The series now shifts to Boston for Games 3 and 4, where the Celtics are just 5 and 4 this postseason. Okay, JJ, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
You picked the Celtics, right?
I did pick the Celtics.
Okay,
yeah.
So here's what I want to know. Which team should feel better now heading into Game 3? Is it the Warriors or the Celtics?
Well, I honestly think both teams should feel good. I'll tell you why. So the Celtics did their job, and they got a game in Golden State. And obviously they've struggled at home, but now they have home court for this series. And Golden State should feel good because they have played stretches of basketball against this Boston Celtics defense that has looked beautiful. And the third quarter last night was a great example of that. I think both teams have concerns here. And specifically for the Celtics, their turnovers and how to guard Steph Curry in the pick and roll. And that's where I think the biggest adjustment has got to be going forward if you're the Celtics. And maybe some of that is rotation. Maybe some of that is Daniel Tice. It doesn't play, and you go smaller and use Al Horford and use Grant Williams and switch more, or you're up in the pick and roll. The Celtics are trying to stay out of that backside 4-on-3, Stephen A., right? We've seen it so many times where teams blitz Steph Curry, and he's able to throw it back to Kevon Looney or Draymond Green, and all of a sudden it's a 4-on-3 on the backside. So that's a real concern for the Celtics. And for the Warriors, you have not seen the best version of Jason Tatum yet. You know, that to me is a little bit concerning. I didn't think he obviously didn't shoot it well in Game 1. I didn't think he had a bad game because of his playmaking, but I thought last night he was really, really up and down. He made some bad decisions. He took some tough shots. And I don't think you've seen the best version of Tatum. And, of course, give the Warriors credit, which I did in the first hour. And, Stephen A., you talked about Andrew Wiggins as a defender last week, and I downplayed it a little bit. And so I'm willing to admit right now I was wrong. Okay?
Thank you.
Say it again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But are you going to answer the question?
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting on.
Are you going to answer the question? Answer the
which
question,
team should
JJ.
feel better?
No,
you dancing like Fred Astaire.
Just tell me which
now,
team
Top
do you
Gun
feel
doesn't
better
dance.
about right now?
I feel better about the Celtics. I
All
made
right,
the
well, you
mistake
didn't
in
say
that
that.
Heat 76ers
You went both
series.
ways.
Hold on. I made the mistake in the Heat 76ers series of flip-flopping halfway through the series. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. I feel better about
So we got to answer. All right, so you feel
about
better about the Celtics. Well, congratulations, because that's the damn answer we were waiting for. Giving us a dissertation, Top Gun. I needed a decision. You were giving me both. I mean, leave something to me. I mean, damn, all the points that you made, I disagree with none of them. None of them at all. I just needed you to pick a side, okay? And you finally did after about 20 minutes. Here's the deal, okay?
Don't look at me. I can't.
For me,
My answer on the sheet that I gave the producers is
you're
both
sitting in that
teams.
seat. You're sitting in that. I told you there's a responsibility in that seat, JJ. I keep telling you that. But here's the deal. I'm going to roll with you, with the Celtics. I think the Celtics should feel better, despite the fact that they got blown out. Here's the deal. First of all, the Boston Celtics always respond. They haven't lost back-to-back games in these playoffs. That's number one. Number two, the fact that you got blown out, you know you're better than that. Number three, you know that Jason Tatum is better than what he has shown you. And number four, just stop turning the damn basketball over. You've already claimed home court advantage in this series because you got your one game in Golden State. So I believe at this particular moment, I think we'll be singing a different tune by the time Game 5 rolls around. But for the moment, I believe that the Boston Celtics should be feeling a lot better after these first 2 games because of what we've seen them capable of doing and what we know they're capable of doing, and they haven't done. I think that they should feel better about where they are right now.
I just wanted to bring up a point because earlier in the show, we were talking about that Warriors third quarter last night where they hit a bunch of jumpers in a row. Steph got going, Jordan Poole got going, and I talked about momentum. And I want to be clear on this. I think within a game, there are momentum swinging plays. I think within a series, I don't buy the momentum thing. And the Boston Celtics are a great example of this. If you go back to the Milwaukee series, right? They lose game 3 by 23 points. They go down 2-1. They win game 4. They lose game 5. They're down 3-2. They win 2 straight elimination games. Game 5 against Miami, in Miami, they lose that game. They do it again. They win 2 elimination games, game 6 and game 7, to get to the finals. This is a team that bounces back. Ime Udoka can make adjustments. To me, they're actually doing some weird pre-switches on side out of bounds plays and on inbound underneath out of bounds plays. They're pre-switching, so they've got a bunch of different people on Steph Curry. Marcus Smart hasn't really started on him on those plays. And then within those pick and rolls, they have options. They can blitz, they can hedge, not hedge, but be up in the coverage. They can switch. And then rotation-wise, I think both teams are deep, and both teams have the luxury of figuring out different, rotations. And I know I said this earlier, but like just having Gary Payton II back in the lineup last night was a huge boost for the Warriors. He was on the 2 best lineups in terms of plus minus last night. Gary Payton II was in those lineups. So I think both teams have some adjustments to make. But I think when I think about the Celtics and the adjustments they can make, there's room to be excited, and there's obviously room to be excited about the fact that Jason Tatum should and will be better in this series.
I will say this to you. Jordan Poole had a strong second half. He had 2 points on 1 for 5 shooting in the first half last night. And we know we've already lamented Klay. I get everything that you're saying about those other role players. Gary Payton II, I love seeing him back out there. That was a huge, huge deal for Golden State. It's specifically when he hit the corner 3 as well, because it's one thing, you know what he's going to bring defensively and athletically, but he attacks the basket and he will hit an open 3 and he'll take it. And so obviously I think that goes a long way. We know what Otto Porter can bring to the table. We get all of that. But to me, another reason why Boston should feel better right now at this point, again, we'll say something probably different going into Game 5 back in Golden State. But right now, why Boston should feel better, Klay Thompson is so pivotal to me. When Klay Thompson is rolling with Steph, sometimes better than Steph, that's when the Warriors are the Warriors. And to me, he closes the deal. If Klay Thompson gets going in this series, it's a wrap. There's no answer when Steph and Klay get going, because what that does to galvanize everybody else around Golden State, it's just something special to behold. But we're not seeing that as of yet.
I'm not concerned about. 10 days ago he had 32 points in a closeout game. Some of this is the Boston Celtics have done a really good job contesting his shots. They've been physical. Yep. They've had great court awareness. I did a details episode for ESPN Plus on Klay's Game 5, and there were so many times where he's coming off screens, and the starting point of the Mavs defenders were so far off the body. To guard Steph and Klay off the ball, you have got to be up to touch. You got to have literally physical contact with them as you get ready to fight through these picks. And I think the Celtics have done a good job. I will say this, and we talked about Tatum. He's probably going to be better. Klay's going to be better. I would expect Klay to be better. You bring up Jordan Poole all the time, and one of the things from last night was, for a guy who's like a lot of shooters and a lot of scorers, he's an irrational confidence guy. Like a third quarter like he had last night, that could potentially be a little bit of a shift for him in this series going forward. Sometimes you just need to see a few going in a row.
Let me say this. I would encourage people to go watch you on detail. You do a good job. I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very proud of you, JJ. You continue to impress. I got to admit to you. I watched it. I see your breakdown, and I love it. I really, really do. Having said that, I got to give my man Jalen Rose some props here. Jalen Rose goes out last night, and he highlighted on NBA Countdown how They're making Klay work. Shots are contested. There's somebody in his face. They're rolling off picks. They're putting a body on him constantly. Klay, what Boston is doing to him, he's not accustomed to that with the degree of regularity that they do it. Number two, because he's still not 100%, the fact that they put him through all of that might compromise those legs a little bit. And as a result, might be throwing off his shot as well. Because people just look at you launching as a jump shooter and they don't realize how important of a component legs are to literally helping you shoot the basketball better. So I take that into consideration as well. And I get that I can see Klay exploding one game or whatever. They need 3 more. And I think that if Klay can give you anything close to Klay, I'm telling you, I don't see Golden State losing this series. I'm counting on them to do it, but I got to admit, Boston looks like they're giving him a huge, huge headache.
Okay. But even after the loss, you both feel better about Boston right now. We will leave it there. Coming up
right
on
now.
First Take, we're still 3 wins away from crowning an NBA champion.